Danger alert! Danger alert!
How did this virus come to be? How has it infected so many across the globe? Who were the culprits? Don't worry, fellas. I know who done it. Thing 1 and Thing 2 over here are the reason. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door is one of the pillars of autism. The departure from the usual Mario locations with varied themes and then adding along all these extra characters on top of it is just, you know, it's just breeding grounds for the good shit. You know what I'm talking about. The same can be said for the first game, but this one just goes balls to the wall by saying fuck a Toad Town and fuck the Mushroom Kingdom for its setting. It just has that perfect recipe of taking something familiar and just going deep with it. AKA a breeding ground for autism. Playing this as a kid immediately put the scare the hose motion sensor device on me, and I gotta say, I don't regret having this thing on me one bit. So when you walk up to me saying some crazy shit like there's a remake of this game, I just gotta check it out. What I'm going for here is just talking about the game and comparing some differences between the remake and OG. But before that, just, you know, make sure you go to Game Banana and yeah, get 60 FPS, because there's no way they logged such a beautiful game to 30 FPS. That is inexcusable, so we're going through this and rating it as if it were made in 60 as God intended. Maybe that messes with some stuff in battle and all that, but I don't really care. This is one of the founding fathers of autism, and it's gonna be respected, goddammit. So the first thing that jumped out on me on the prologue was how every character has their own voice, kinda, or just noises when they talk. Like, this nonsense noise when text is displayed for dialogue has something different for every character. I don't think they are all unique, but it's all put there just to fit. It's an okay change. It stopped being annoying midway through the prologue, so that's good, because at first I was pretty damn annoyed with it. But then I was just like, fuck it. We could rock with it. It's not that much of a thing to bitch at. Now, what isn't good is that I swear this text speed sucks. It makes going through events a bit shittier since it really doesn't keep up with my already slow reading pace. So the fact that there's a text speed that's slower than that in a game concerns me for the average reading level. Something that I love about this game is how realistic a lot of the NPCs are. Their main concern is their own bottom dollar, and they even question some of the unrealistic elements, like, you know, even in universe and shit like that. So for example, the guy driving the boat at the start of the game questions Mario on trying to meet a princess in what is essentially the hood. Imagine if you were a taxi driver and you see some goofy guy tell you to take him to Detroit or some shit because he's gonna meet a princess, or like, you know, a 10 with a lot of money or something like that. You'd question or feel sorry for the poor bastard. It's little comments like this that make a lot of the NPCs memorable and just fun to interact with and learn about. One of the running jokes in this game is Mario getting harassed. Like, goddamn, bitch, I'm incel, leave me alone. So our first partner, Goombella, does just that. And that leads us into discussing battle and character progression in this game. And get ready to hear a bunch of shit that you already heard before. Paper Mario battles are fun as hell. You take turns attacking and defending, with each character having their own turn, like in a traditional turn-based RPG. The twist here being that you can defend from enemy attacks by pressing buttons at the right time, or add more damage to your attacks by pressing buttons at the right time, or whatever little command they have you do. This makes battles more lively and fun. The Thousand Year Door adds in the ability to super guard. I love this shit. This means a stricter timing window for defense, but you take 0 damage and deal damage back to attackers if their moves made contact with you. This changes the game so much for me and makes battles way more fun to partake in. It's like trying to Royal Guard in Devil May Cry. Then the crystal stars come into play and appealing to the audience, and things like making moves more stylish by like pressing buttons at the right time again. It just keeps your mind engaged in these battles because of all these like little reaction tests that we're looking at. The lower numbers than your average RPG also add so much impact to attacks. Like, seeing a double digit is just like, holy fuck, that shit hurt. And to keep it short, Leveling up is awesome, and you should always choose BP and play around with the amazing badge system that changes stats for you and partners as well, and can add effects and immunities to you and partners. It's awesome. It has all this weird shit. Some of them even just give you like a costume, like there's the thing with the Luigi and the Wario badge, and then you mix them and then you get Waluigi. Like, come on, that's just so damn cool. The badges are awesome, and they're the best part about Paper Mario to me, to be honest. So chapter 1 is just going to town, meeting Koops, and getting 2 stones to hit up Hooktail. It's a pretty fun introductory chapter, and at the time of release, it really spoke out about how crazy Nintendo was in their GameCube era. We got the Thwomp quiz game, these guys are satisfying a Super Guard, the Fuzzies look like crack addicts, you know, the whole shebang. The puzzles ascending to Hooktail's castle are nice enough. Koops gives us a nice tool to fetch items from afar or delay hitting switches. The Hooktail fight is pretty nice for a first boss. Hooktail has all these strong moves and even goes in to eat the audience, or offering you foot fuckers 7 minutes in heaven. Koops' dad falls under that umbrella, sadly. So bam, cool ass first chapter. So let me tell you how the remake, after our fixes, improves upon this. The characters get more poses to emote with, and the reworked soundtrack kicks ass. We also get a different battle theme depending on the location we fight in. I'm just really happy that the remake is so far treating this game with respect. And you know, spoiler alert, it respects the fuck out of this game. So everything that I just said applies for every subsequent chapter, alright? Usually when I replay this game, chapter 2 is the stopping point for me. There's something just boring about it to me. The location is beautiful and all, but here is where I feel that this game's backtracking gets formally introduced. Thankfully, in the remake's case, this is the only time where I feel that backtracking is an issue. To start off with, we notice a tiny creature that will lead us down to a pipe that takes us to the Boggly Woods. Then we trek all the way to the tree, notice we can't get in, and go far to the right to meet Madame Flurry. But oh no, Madame Flurry lost her necklace, which is located all the way at the start of the area, to the left. So it's like, okay, that's annoying, but hey, we at least get to fight the Shadow Sisters for the first time. You know, the big one scares me with all that charging. So bam, necklace obtained, new partner got. And another complaint for Marta filed to HR. So with Flurry, we are able to blow no sex style to find secrets and whatnot. She also comes with an insta-kill move that's worth rolling for sometimes. Are you kidding me? In the tree we meet the rest of the little creatures. They are punies and they are alright. These two siblings have cute moments. The main gimmick in this dungeon is keeping all the punies with you. The orbs setting them in one place mixes pretty well with Flurry's ability. What sucks is how much up and down we gotta travel to make progress in the dungeon, which just adds to the whole backtracking point. Now, something that sadly never gets a fix is the painfully slow text speed. I don't know why they stepped with this, and seeing that these punies talk a lot makes me kind of start hating them as well. Which is where I think a lot of my animosity toward chapter 2 comes from sometimes. And then they run from these spiders, and keeping all 100 starts feeling like a chore. At least the chapter ends off with a bang as you get a timer and self-destruct sequence. Then we fight Crump in his new machine, but it's pretty underwhelming. I think they should have just kept the timer rolling during the fight. The relief of it stopping makes this boss look like a joke, and it already looks like one. Yeah, this is easily the worst chapter in the game in my opinion. It's sad to say because of how beautiful the Boggly Woods are, but all we really get here is spending most of our time in that cramped ass tree. The music when you have all the punies also gets grating really damn fast. The tree is a dungeon, looking mostly samey and having a hefty amount of backtracking built in it doesn't help either. Now remember, just because it's the worst chapter in the game doesn't make it a bad chapter. It's more so mediocre, I'd say, because the rest of these are just bangers. Like, you can still have fun here, and I do love the aesthetics, but I don't know, something about Chapter 2, the backtracking, this whole puny thing, it just didn't click with me. The area for Chapter 2 itself doesn't really have that much going on in it, that it just feels like the art style is wasted. Chapter 3 is an all-timer. On paper, trust me, this shit sucks. What you're doing here is just fighting consecutive battles that are mostly cakewalk until you reach the boss. Sounds boring, right? Like, where's the dungeon at? The whole setup is the dungeon. Enter the Glitz Pit, baby. But before all that, we gotta get an invitation from a mob boss. He ain't easy to reach, so we do some password shit at the shop with the slutty boo in it. This felt cool as a kid. So after babysitting his kids, he gives us the ticket to the Glitz Pit, and we could ride the blimp and get in there. The remake OST kind of feels worse in this part. A lot of the Glitz Pit songs are changed to a weird degree. You got the Glitz Pit now rocking some Japanese sounding music, which just feels like a downgrade from the original synth-heavy soundtrack. I feel that the original fit more because what we're doing here is going on a stage and fighting to wow the crowd for the most part. Other than getting over the music changes, luckily the fights are better since they have their own battle theme, and this one sounds right on the money. In Chapter 3, we sign up to be wrestlers, ditching the Mario pronouns and using the Gonzalez ones now. I like how much of a scumbag Grubba is when you sign up. He shows the luxurious champions room and then the clean major league room while coining phrases like, "I take care of my fighters," then dropping you off into the dingy, crusty ass minor locker room that he never even showed you. He was so much of a pussy about it that he had his fucking secretary, Jolene. She's bad. Take you there. Only good thing here is King K. This is one of the coolest chapters ever, and the place changes a lot while you rank up. The townsfolk talk about the fighters, posters get put up, crowds form, just all types of shit just going on. I love the Glitz Pit. In Chapter 3, you gotta fight with some random condition that Grubba provides. This can range from a whole lot of shit, like no jumping, no hammer, no Mario attacks, only partner attacks, use a special move. So after ranking up a bit, these two dickheads block our way. They are impervious, oh no, but what's up bitches, the god of all Mario games, except Sunshine, is here. The partner that we get here is the Yoshi, and it's so cool that you can actually just fucking name him. So Yoshi just takes him out with the gulp. He's honestly the best partner in the game. You just gotta tweak him a bit with badges and whatnot, but after that, he's just the greatest. A damage machine, DPS out the ass, yummy. Then on top of that, we can ride him in the overworld, and basically we just unlocked ourselves a sprint button. Now nothing feels like a drag anymore, except the tech speed. Still can't do nothing about that. I love that throughout the whole game, Yoshi mainly refers to you as Gonzalez, because that's the name that he's heard. So we get a bunch of weird texts as we rank up from somebody named X. Uncovering mysteries, like in the ring and all this conspiracy stuff. Rock Hawk runs around showboating as we get closer to the championship, and he tries a lot of bullshit tactics. He sends poison cakes and even tries to lock us up when it's time to give him his beatdown. He's kind of a joke, but his theme song is cool. It's cool how he was like a fake out for the chapter boss, but to wrap it up, we chase Grubba down and then we can finally see his final form. Macho Grubba is a pretty fun boss fight. Fuck. Macho Grubba is this game's first boss with difficulty, I feel. He hits like a truck and changes his stats around like crazy. I think you're best off just trying to blitz him before he stacks anything up. There's also a scene where Bowser fucking enters the ring on this wrestling stuff. Like, it's just so cool, and you're even allowed to lose it, which is crazy. Chapter 3 is definitely a highlight. It's so nice swapping partners and seeing what they say for their openings to a fight and their endings to a fight. At Chapter 3, you don't really have much in your arsenal, so hitting the win conditions feels pretty satisfying depending on what limits they put on you. It's a very entertaining detour to just have Mario become a WWE star for a chapter. Chapter 4 requires us to talk to one of these depressed looking guys to get passage into Twilight Town.
Hey, Elliot Roger here.
This chapter used to be kind of a bitch with the backtracking, but they gave us some cool shortcuts this time around in the remake, so that's cool. The mood of this chapter is just awesome. Everything feels so hopeless. The town is cursed in such a way that whenever the bell rings, a random person turns into a pig. This shit is really sad if you think too hard on it. There's even this scene where a lady turns into a pig in front of her kids. Her kids are starving and they lament the loss of their mother, and then one brave, crazy motherfucker is just thinking about eating her. It's a nice bit of dark humor, but it also shows how fucked the situation here really is. So all we gotta do is reach the bad guy, yeah? We go through the woods and do that, yeah? Enemies are a bit stronger. We got the charge Goombas over here, and these daisies are crazy. A little tough. After we kick this guy's ass, the chapter seemingly ends. Then we are hit with reality. We got duped. We never won that fight. So Mario loses his sprite and is voiceless and all this cool stuff. Actually, no, he's just like purple. I think it's kind of cool though. Walking around missing your identity without your partners just makes me miss fucking Yoshi, man. I miss my sprint button.
If I show up, I need a bag for the show. Ooh, damn, I'm finna fuck us.
So we go back into the creepy steeple. We find this parrot. We find a piece, so now we could guess this guy's name to get our identity back. And that's how we go kick his ass. But when we guess his name, what does he do? He goes back up to the creepy steeple. And I can understand. Listen, I promise you, I understand guys, this backtracking sucks dick. But despite the backtracking, all the salad dressing and atmosphere building in chapter 4 to me is just awesome. I still have love for this one. It's pretty short, but it's like such a unique one, because you know, you literally just change player models, kinda, right? Like that's the only time that you do that, like for a chapter. Getting into the mood of this chapter, I think, is pretty important to enjoying it. Like the moment you start seeing it for what it is with the backtracking, I understand not liking it, but I still think chapter 2 is worse. Vivian is also a good motivation, especially after learning that all my viewers are all really freaky and like to get down and dirty and are really freaky with the... What the fuck did I write here? Man, we also gotta give credit to Dupless taking on Mario's identity and then being able to use the partners, and that's the boss fight. Like, I think that is. You know, that's some good stuff. Good stuff. I like you guys. Good shit. And chapter 5 is yet another banger! There's a bit of an issue though. We gotta get a ship and a navigator for said ship. So bam, we meet Flavio, which is this game's version of that one archaeologist in the first Paper Mario. Mainly because they both go into uncharted territory and then turn into pussies. So sadly our navigator is a bit sad and we have to hit up the bartender to cheer him up. Listen, as a lover boy myself, I don't know how the fuck this cheers Bobbery up. So this made me cry as a little kid, okay? He was obsessed with his job as a navigator that his wife passed due to illness and wrote him a letter to never give up his passion of the sea. Mr. Bartender over here saw Bobbery at his fucking worst, grieving over the death of his love, and you know, he was just too much of a pussy to give him her final letter. So years later, Mario comes down his chimney and passes him that final letter where she says, "Bitch, go make your money and don't lose both your passions. It's okay if I die." This scene is beautiful to me. It's like my worst nightmare too. Thank God I'm incel. So boom, we go sailing, but some ghost fucks us up. This guy's in our crew and breaks the fourth wall just to explain that Mario and friends aren't that retarded. And we gotta do a little back and forth action to get into the dungeon. Please pick up this badge. You can stomp on the fire guys and actually get some real damage on them. Honestly, this badge being right outside this dungeon totally trivializes it. We do get some pretty cool enemies like the Big Bob Bombs that put you on a timer to take big damage on the first turn. I love tropical settings, so this is totally fine by me. Venturing further into the cave greets us to the chapter's main boss, Cortez. He looks so fucking cool. He's like aggressively 3D. His fight is also cool as hell as he brings up his weapons and there's like all this stuff floating around. After that we get an epic pirate battle where Lord Crump, our fourth wall breaking friend, decides to take our crystal stars. It was an easy fight, but I do like that last, you know, he puts up a bit of a struggle with his X-Naut army. So, you know, I would give him credit. But yeah, Keelhaul Key is just such a cool ass location. I like the music, I like the way everything looks. You know, we also get like the boat. Like, you know, we could turn into a mini boat in here. Like, that's cool. Chapter 6 is gonna make you love Yoshi. This is gonna be your favorite character from now on. It's a fun chapter, but it's pretty slow paced. What we have to do is that we gotta meet all these train passengers and figure out mysteries and lost items. It's a lot of fetch questing here, where the story only progresses after you talk to the right guy. The train setting is improved in the remake with some gorgeous lighting. I kind of don't like this segment on replays too much, but it's so much fun the first time around since you don't know what the passenger on these trains actually do and what's going on over there, you know? Funky cast of characters and this dork detective who just gets shit wrong. This joke really never landed well with me. It's like he's always being the penguin who knew it all along and he calls Mario Luigi. Yeah, it's probably my least favorite character in this game. I find him corny. His dresser is filled with just detective novels, which is kind of funny, like for his character, because it's just like, yeah, he's just LARPing or some shit. We do get the Toad Ghost here, which is a good time to mention that the remake team really went all out in adding more pop to cutscenes. Music is changing more frequently, and along with the poses, they added a more dynamic camera. It makes things a bit more lively. I appreciate it. There's not really much to say about this chapter because it's basically just talking to people and then you do like a mini dungeon and then it sort of just ends. The train stops over here at this mini dungeon. The sunset lighting is slick enough to make me enjoy it because it's not really bad at all. It's just kind of, oh, okay, here's a dungeon, new location. It's just not really all that interesting either. And it all culminates with a boss fight on top of the train against the S'mores. This boss is cool as hell to me on the setting alone. Like, it's cool he took over the train and we had to like swat away plenty of them to get on top of the train. We have this crazy song playing that had some western kind of elements in there. You know, because of the train. It's like there's a train robbery going on. It's all fun stuff. We receive our Crystal Star after stopping in Poshley Heights and platforming up this area twice. Chapter 6 hurts replays because it's very dialogue heavy. But that first rodeo through is so worth your time. And can I just say it? Listen. Why does this game make me want to fuck toads? Like, this is some bullshit. I can't be the only one who... Chapter 7 is what I was most excited for in this remake. X-Naut Fortress is one of those songs that just have been living in my head since I've developed working memory. But before that, we gotta do this game's worst backtracking and chase this bomb everywhere. But thankfully, the remake has fixed this by adding a quick warp point right here in Rogueport. Thank God for this. This shortened chapter 7's length by a large margin, but it's worth it because the game time we lost was shitty game time anyways. I've seen X-Naut Fortress get a lot of flack for having a hallway design, but I don't really see the point in having that be a critique. Here we have a puzzle heavy dungeon that requires you to keep track of yourself in a winding space with similar doorways. I think that sort of thing is a fun challenge, especially mixed in with these light up puzzle floors and this platforming segment at the end that I suck at for some reason. The remix is a banger, I'll admit, but I think the OG still edges it out. We got different instrumentals here, but I prefer how focused the original track for X-Naut Fortress was, like with its synths and all that. Sounding like the final area of a Kirby game or something. After waltzing around with the puzzles, we get a boss fight with this shitty robot again? But no, not really. This time around, he's really beefy and has some deadly attack. He's definitely a fun fight, and I can't help but try super guarding his insane attack where he shoots audience members at you. This shit is so deadly, you just gotta kinda pray that you're somewhat healed up by the time it rolls out. This is a pretty damn good boss, and it puts some respect on that funky ass robot's design. At the end of this chapter, another self-destruct initiates, and we gotta say goodbye to Tech. This scene is so nice. I love the story that went down with Tech and Peach. Him realizing he's only a computer, but somehow having an ego and a passion for something not related to knowing information. It's just beautiful stuff, I tell you. So seeing him go out while accepting this Mario guy that the love of his life always wanted a message, it just almost brings a tear to my eye. Tech isn't selfish. He just wants his baby girl happy and safe. So finally we hit endgame. The 1,000-year door houses demons and shit. It's all spooky. There's no treasure. Whoa! So finally we get to enter the damn door. Even on replays, finally seeing this door open still gives me the chills. Like, I still get them. Especially after basically traveling the world with all the unique locations and all this shit. So it's so crazy that it's like, okay, so what's behind that door? That's the door that we want to get, right? This final area kicks ass. 1, because we can actually level up here, and 2, because of how grand it feels. Even dungeons don't really hold a candle to the size of this place. It also helps with how often the camera zooms out here. This being under Rogueport is just crazy, especially since this lies under the sewers that we've used throughout the entire game. So this is like the super under or something. The enemies are at their most dangerous here. We even get straight up terrifying boss fights like the Gloomtail fight and the rematch with the 2 remaining Shadow Sisters and Duplas. This is all just to reach that goddamn sealed treasure. They make getting here as grand or tedious, depending on how into it you are. Spoiler alert, I'm into it. By having us do puzzles in this tower deep underground to open the way further in. It all comes down to finally meeting Grotus himself, leader of the X-Nauts. It's a good fight, as most are in this game. He hits like a truck, but you can break his scepter or just super guard the shit out of him like a real champion. Then after Grotus, we get a real classic fight. Bowser. You know, this whole game he's been bumbling around, but here he's just ready to box. He bumbles his way into it, he brings in Cammy, and his best theme song yet is in the remake. Bowser and Cammy both doing hefty damage with this song blasting mid-fight is so damn cool. Even though he was gag relief damn near the entire game, Thousand Year Door demands you put some respect on Bowser's name. Having these 2 fights before the finale back to back kicks so much ass, and no wonder I can never forget this. The finale is just like beautiful, I love this shit. Then we chase Grotus and Peach down to the final room. The demon comes to life and uses Peach as a host while turning her into a bad bitch. I understand if you choose to serve under her at this point, but nah bitch, I'm incel. We get a phase 1 and scripted lost scenario, and then we get a heartwarming scene where the world is cheering you on. It's like this little scene where it's like, oh, remember what you're fighting for, remember these guys? I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff at endgame. Even Rock Hawk's bitch ass is like, hey, no losing, new rule. This Penguin Detective's joke also finally comes to an end where he realizes, yeah, it's Mario, not Luigi. After all that sappy good shit that I love so much, we finally start the battle proper. Playing the way I was, only using super guards, was insane. Shadow Queen has high damage output and her hand attacks where they drag you down is unsuper guardable. This one really came down to the wire, so it's nice seeing that the challenge is still there. After that's all wrapped up, we get a final goodbye that always tugs at my heartstrings. Your partners talk about what's next for them, the love is just spilled everywhere. Yoshi even says that you always be Gonzalez to him, which, you know, that hits me the hardest. Mario and Peach go home a few days later, and then we get a status update on what the partners are doing. And, you know, it's just a nice little ribbon to tie it all up. You can also revisit post-game and do some side quests that you missed, or, you know, pick up whatever collectible. So yeah, this game is still goated. Incredibly fun the whole way through. Super Guard is an excellent idea. Now for extra fun stuff, you could always do the Pit of 100 trials. These are battles scaling up in difficulty till you hit 100. These will really test your resource management and will have you swapping partners left and right, praying for some healing. Super Guarding here is so damn satisfying. In the remake, they changed the music to be more horrifying the deeper you go in. The Bonetail boss fight got a gnarly horror themed remix as well. It's some eldritch banger which definitely fits since Bonetail is tough as shit. They gave us a remake exclusive boss in the form of Prince Mush, the first Glitz Pit champion. This boss is super good, because it's just a super guard timing check, and it's so fun to fight. The second super boss can be found after visiting the Pit of 100 Trials a second time, and it's a Wacka, a guy that gives you the good healing items that we all love. And he's beefy as hell. It's a cool boss fight that you can blitz through, but if you let him live long enough, he will just bump you out of commission. Like, he just chucks these hoes. Where most of these game side quests are gonna be from is the Trouble Center. I recommend ignoring the Trouble Center entirely until you get Yoshi so that you can speed through a lot of them and actually run left and right to where you gotta go. Most of them, I'm not gonna lie, are not worth doing if you don't really get sucked into the world. The best thing you get out of Troubles is a weak new partner under Miss Mouse, but if you're into it like I am, the Trouble Center can be so fun. That lady we saw turn into a pig in front of her children? Yeah, well guess what? She used to date the innkeeper that saw Bobbery's wife die. She wanted him all this time, but they had to go their separate ways, and now they reconnect. But it's sadly too late to live together, so it's best off left unremembered. And goddamn, that's so tragic. And this is what the Trouble Center gives you a lot of. It's very charming, but I will admit that a lot of the objectives are just very samey. So you have to be into the dialogue and like what these characters are doing, Or at least just start looking for like a joke or something. Playing the remake of The Thousand Year Door felt special. This has always been a game that I have held in very high regard, and even noticing more of its flaws and all that, I'm very appreciative of the remake trying to fix a good chunk of them, and even improving on some aspects that just makes me feel all giddy and noticed on the inside. This game is still like top 5 at least, and I encourage all humans to play through it at least once. The remake is amazing once you get past the whole being locked at 30 FPS, which is still bullshit. Like, don't do that. Show some respect. Anyways, this video is definitely all over the place, but I just wanted to chime in on the remake, and especially the game in general, because I want to talk about everything I love eventually. This game means a lot to me, you know, autism style, and I hope either it does or will to you one day. And please, for the love of God, 60 FPS, go. Yo, get the patch, yo, get the patch. Get the, yo, shoot your friend, get the patch.